Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day. Hello everyone. Happy Friday. I think we post on Fridays. Our admin is a completely separate department, so I don't really know what's going on there. Except for, yes I do, because Kalina and I agreed on Fridays. So today you're stuck with me because Kalina is out. She's actually looking for Kate Middleton right now. So I don't know when she'll get back. Probably soon. We have a lot of theories. One theory is that it's a little disrespectful to be doing all of this searching and hunting and haha funnying when she might truly just be in recovery from a major surgery, and she is following the timeline that was put out. But that's no fun, and we hate the British, so we're allowed to have a little bit of fun. I think the more insane your theory is, the better, but not like alien insane, just like bonkers. Not harmful, just goofy, I think is a good line, which is really like how I view most things. Like, you can be funny, you can be crazy, you can be out there, but like err on the side of goofy, not on the side of harmful, because, and I know this is a real bold take, being harmful is harmful. Anyway, it is my birthday soon, and I was meant to subject Kalina to one of my favorite albums of the year, but we had some scheduling issues, so instead I will be subjecting you to me yapping for, I don't know, I think I can pull 30 minutes out of this. With Kalina, we can usually pull 2 hours, but we'll try. Also, for everyone uninformed, this is Don't Quote Me on That. It's usually a duo show with me and my best friend slash life partner slash wife slash other half in a buddy cop film that probably won't ever get made. But today, you're stuck with me. I'm Elanor. This podcast started as a radio show where we talked about movies, and then about 3 or 4 weeks in, we realized that I've only seen about 3 or 4 movies. So we had to pivot, and now we're just kind of a wider media-themed show. We focus a lot on music. Kalina and I both have media degrees. I have 2. She has 1. But she has a master's of science, so she kind of... She's got the beauty and the brains. I've got some of the jokes. She's got the rest of them. But anyway, this is technically my birthday show. Posting this on Friday. My birthdays will be on the Tuesday, I think. I'm kind of foggy on days of the week. I thought getting a big girl job where, I was in 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, would kickstart knowing what days of the week are when, but it didn't. Still waiting for that to happen. But that's okay. That happens to the best of us. And if it doesn't happen to the best of us, it happens to me, and I'm delusional enough to think that I am the best. But anyway, today, in honor of my 25th birthday, I am going to just be talking about 25 pieces of media that I think have impacted me, helped form who I am. I tried to kind of try to think throughout my whole life, but I'll be honest, it is a lot of current stuff because I have a pretty bad memory, and if it didn't happen yesterday, I don't really remember it. But we're gonna start. I have a list here. It's in no order. It's kind of in the order of which I thought of things, so you'll also see a lot of crossover of things. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about why it's significant, how it's significant, how I found it, a little bit of everything, because this is a media show, and it's my show, so I'm going to talk about media that I like, instead of what I usually do, which is talk about media that I like with somebody else who also likes it. Very different thing that I'm doing this week. But yeah, I will just jump right into it. The first thing on the list is New Girl. It is a sitcom. I believe it started in 11 maybe? But I didn't start watching it until, I think there were 3 or 4 seasons out. And I remember that very clearly because when I started watching it, when I got to the finale of, not the finale, but the end of the episodes that were available, it was when they were all on a cruise. And I get very obsessive with shows, so in, between me finishing it for the first time and the new episode being released on whatever streaming service I was watching, I probably watched it 3 or 4 times. So that the cruise finale is very much cemented in my brain. But kind of New Girl as a whole, it's not one of the first sitcoms I watched, but it's one of my favorite sitcoms, and it's, I don't know, I guess I would call it my comfort show. It pretty consistently can get a laugh out of me. I've watched it enough to where I know what's going to happen, and I kind of like that. But even though I know what's going to happen, I know what to expect, it still makes me laugh, which that can be hard to do, okay? Sometimes things are hilarious the first time, and then when you try to watch them again, it's like, okay, I get it. We're fine. We get it. New Girl, consistent bangers. It is a pretty good plane show also, because you can fall asleep during it and you'll be fine. It's not the best plane show in the world, but my favorite plane show did not make this list because it's something I almost exclusively watch on planes, so not that impactful. Sorry, friends. But yeah, I think New Girl shaped a lot of my humor. I think a lot of my jokes I didn't steal from New Girl, but are definitely inspired by New Girl, if you will. And also, the guy who plays Schmidt, I think, is not only so cute, but amazing timing, amazing comedic timing. I wish I knew his name. I don't know anybody's name. Sometimes it's a shock I know my own name. But he, hilarious, perfect. Jake Johnson, whose name I do know, actually. I know his name, because if I see his name on anything, I click it. Love him. He's so fine. The New Girl, the scene with Greenlight by Lorde, I think is one of the best couple of minutes on television ever. Also, there are a couple songs that have made my playlist because they were in New Girl, which is a slightly embarrassing way to find music, but I stand by it. Top tier show. 10 out of 10. It has a cheating storyline, which usually would make me very anxious and really turn me off, but they don't drag it out. And even though, I would argue it kind of has a happy ending, it's not like things get resolved right away, which I enjoy. It's not big cheating fallout and then the next episode everything is fine, which is nice. It does fall into the whole, how are these people affording this amazing apartment, but you've got to suspend a little bit of reality, alright? Yeah, New Girl. The next thing on the list is this movie. I don't think we've talked about it on here, but it's one of the first movies I can ever remember watching. When I was very young, I had an iPod Nano. Thank you very much. It was a hand-me-down iPod Nano. It wasn't mine, but one of the albums I purchased was the soundtrack to this movie, and it's A Cinderella Story, specifically the one with Hilary Duff. I have not watched this movie in quite a while, mostly because I don't know where it's streaming, and I have the physical DVD of it, but my laptop doesn't have a DVD player. So, in theory, I could watch it whenever I want. In practice, it's a disc that just kind of sits there and mocks me. But it's got Hilary Duff, it's got the guy who I only ever call the guy from A Cinderella Story. It's got Chad Michael Murray. It's got Jennifer Coolidge. Jennifer Coolidge is, again, one of the funniest people on the planet. She was great in White Lotus. She's great in this movie. Those are the two things I've seen her in. But we love her. A Cinderella Story is just a retelling of Cinderella. It was one of the, well, okay, I think it was one of the first retellings to have like a, like the main pop girl of the time in it. And then after that, we got one with Lucy Hale and one with Selena Gomez. Completely different universes, but again, Cinderella remakes. And yeah, amazing song, amazing movie. Had some original songs by Hilary Duff. Had a Jesse McCartney song. Had All Be by Edward McCain, which, according to the Genius page for this song, or the Wikipedia page, or both, is not a happy song and not really a love song, but gets played at a lot of weddings, which I think is just kind of funny. And also, I would argue that just because a song talks about suicide doesn't necessarily mean it's not a happy song. Anyway, A Cinderella Story, one of the best movies in the world. And I stand by that. I've seen like 6 movies, and I am allowed to make that determination. The next thing I put on the list was just Tumblr, and then in parentheses, entire concept, which is fair. I would say I was a Tumblr kid. I am not currently active on Tumblr because, I don't know, I've got other things to do. But Tumblr kind of fueled my entire life in fandom for quite a while. It was the main way I interacted with the media and the celebrities that I liked. Not like directly with the celebrities, but just, I was active in the fandom is what I'm trying to say. I have a distinct memory. The first thing I ever reblogged on Tumblr was a shirtless photo of Liam Payne, and then I almost immediately deleted it because I got embarrassed that people would see it and know that I looked at it. And I think that story just kind of sums me up. Yeah, Tumblr's great. Well, actually, it's really not. Tumblr kind of fell off for quite a while, but in its heyday, it was great. I think it's kind of the origin of a lot of great jokes. Tumblr posts are still being circulated as we speak right now. They're also still being made. I also think that lying on the internet kind of originated on Tumblr. It was really a space where you could say whatever you want, and people would pretend to believe you for reblogs and likes. And like, yeah, that happens now, but there's less light in it, It's a little bit more clinical, especially on Twitter, where people are just lying for nothing. It's like, you're not even trying to be funny. Again, goes back to, you gotta be goofy. You can't be boring and harmful, okay? If you're gonna be a little bit harmful, you gotta be real funny, which is not easy to pull off, and usually you just kind of end up looking like a douche. But yeah, long live Tumblr. I think it shaped quite a few people. I also know way too much about certain fandoms because of Tumblr. It's kind of the only reason that I knew Doctor Who existed as a young one. I was never into Doctor Who, but people I followed were. It's also very funny. I logged into my Tumblr probably last year or 2 years ago, and I only followed One Direction blog because of who I am as a person, and everybody had split into two camps. They were either K-pop blogs now or professional hockey blogs, and I didn't even know professional hockey had such a big fandom. Apparently it does. Next on the list is a book, which is shocking because I didn't know I knew how to read. But it's a series of unfortunate events, and I am specifically talking about the book series. The adaptations are fun. The movie one with, I believe, is it Jim Carrey? Maybe, who plays Olaf? I think so. I think it is. That's good. It's hard to condense, 12 books into one movie, but they did a pretty good job. And then the series that came out on Netflix a few years ago with Neil Patrick Harris, also good. It had whoever played Job Bluth in it. Again, I don't know names, I'm sorry. It had Bojack in it. Love him. I think he's amazing. I think like a mini series, sort of limited series, whatever you want to call it, format played a lot better to this, because it was impossible to fit the whole story into one movie. But I think like splitting it into 2 or even 3 movies would have made it drag on just a little bit too much. But having a limited series where it's like these are all the episodes at once, or every week you get a new episode, it's a good pace. It's enough time to cover the main plot points and the fun, finer details. But it's not so long that you're like, okay, get to the point. And also, it's just a good time. I really enjoy the way that Lemony Snicket wrote. I enjoyed how he introduced new vocabulary in a way that it made it make sense without making it feel dumbed down, which isn't always easy to do. And it also didn't feel like you were being lectured to. It was just like, here's a fun new word, here's how to use it, please enjoy that knowledge, which is how I enjoy learning. Yeah, I think that's the only book on this list. It's a good book. There were some other books that I think were quite pivotal for me, but A Series of Unfortunate Events is A, one I'm okay talking about on the internet. B, I was voracious about them. I think I read the series probably 3 or 4 times, because they were all in my library, and we love and support local libraries. If you don't have a library card, you should get one expeditiously. I say that, but I moved recently and I don't have a new library card, so I think that's more of a reminder for me than for you. But love libraries. The next on this list is probably a shock to no one, unfortunately. Taylor Swift. I got into Taylor Swift, I think in like the 3rd grade. So at that point, her first album was out. Fearless might have been out, but I think it was too early for Fearless. I remember Our Song was out, and I remember I learned about her because we had Spirit Week at school, and one of my friends dressed up as her in the Our Song music video for like Character Day or Celebrity Day or whatever, one of the themed days. And I was like, who are you? And she said, I'm Taylor Swift. And that impacted the trajectory for my entire life. I hesitated putting Taylor Swift on this list, but I think she specifically kind of opened the door to media criticism to me, honestly. Not criticism, but like analysis. And not in the sense that like, oh, her lyrics were so impactful and insightful that they made me want to become an English major or a media major or whatever it was that I was. I do think she is a really great songwriter. I do think she can really craft a story through a song. But I think just as a persona, she's very interesting, in the way she is able or has been able to evolve, and also just just everything surrounding Taylor Swift. especially lately, is just so interesting. And she is one of my favorite celebrities to hate. Not hate in the sense that, like, I don't like her. Hate in the sense that, like, I don't know. I think she's so interesting. Just as like a concept of celebrity, she is very interesting. Not like she herself as a person, as a concept is just so, I don't know. I could and probably will write a dissertation about her. Just how she interacts with the world and how her celebrity has impacted everything. And I also think she's a brilliant businesswoman, but I'm not quite sure that's a compliment. Which, again, is difficult to say. Not difficult, it's very easy to say, but, like, I don't know, I don't want... It's hard because I feel like it can come off, like, it's very easy for critique of Taylor Swift or critique of any number of artists to come off as internalized misogyny, or anti-woman in a way, when what me personally, and I'm sure a lot of other people are really trying to, like, get at is anti-capitalism. But it's very hard to critique a girl boss and not be seen as anti-feminist, which I think is kind of fair, because I know I don't critique male artists in the same way, but honestly, that's mostly because I don't know male artists. I don't really consume male artists. There are some that I would love to consume, or who could consume me, but kind of generally, I don't follow the career of male artists in the same way I do some female artists. I did for a while, which we'll get into while I'm talking about this, but I don't think those male artists ever existed within the construct of fame in the same way that Taylor Swift does. And even if they had when they were in their prime, it was when I was kind of too young to realize exactly what was going on. And is all of that an excuse so I don't sound like a misogynist? Not really. Could it sound like that? I think so. Not trying to, but I think it's hard. I personally am probably not a misogynist. Sometimes I say I am for jokes, but I'm not. I love women. That's a really dumb thing to say, but we're moving on. Surprisingly, to a male artist, well, not a single male artist, a group, 5 Seconds of Summer, who we have talked about. I know for sure we talked about them once, because Kalina and I went to go see them last September. They weren't my first boy band. I'm talking about my first boy band later. We all can probably guess who that was, but Five Sauce was, I think, my second boy band. At the time, I thought that they were very hardcore, that they aren't. I mean, they're not pure pop all the time, but they're pretty damn close to it. Some highlights of Five Sauce include one time in college I got into a fight about them, and about how they were discovered. Also, in when I first moved for college, before I kind of was able to make friends, and by friends I mean Kalina, I would just sit in my room and listen to Five Sauce. Thanks, Youngblood, the album, for getting me through that. And it's kind of funny, I'm pretty sure Kalina was doing the same thing. Part of the reason that they're on this list is because I think they're one of the most consistent things that Kalina and I have been able to bond over. And it's nice when two people like the same thing and they're able to talk about it. That's kind of the foundation of a lot of friendships. Yeah, great advice. Find people who like the same things as you so you can talk about them together. That's never before heard of. Anyway, the next thing on this list is Andy Samberg on SNL. This is partly because I think he's hot, because I'm easy, and a little dumb, but it's also because I think when I first started watching SNL, it was when he was on, and so he was kind of, when I think of SNL, for a very long time I thought of him and they became linked, but I also think, again, he just has a very specific media style, and also, things like the Dear Sister video, the what you say, if you will, video, I think things like that very much shaped not only my sense of humor, but the sense of humor of part of my generation, just kind of generally, kind of the blueprint for a lot of things, which is fair, and I think a lot of his things stand up, which is hard to do, and also I think he's cute, and if he's free on Thursday, I'm free on Thursday. I know he has like a wife and a child, so I probably shouldn't say that, but very funny, stand-up guy, probably, I think. He's just funny. Also, shout out Lonely Island. Finest Girl is one of the best songs ever made. It shouldn't be, but it is. Pop star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. Big up to that. We love you, Andy Samberg. I don't know who we is. We is just me at this moment, but we do. Moving swiftly on. The next piece of media on this list is Fall Out Boy. I guess they're not a piece of media, they're a band, but whatever, they count. Again, Fall Out Boy. They were as hardcore as I was willing to get in high school, which makes a lot of sense because I'm a little bit of a pansy. I remember there was one summer in high school where I got grounded and I was only allowed to have like an iPod that somebody found in a box when we were cleaning out our house, and Save Rock and Roll was, I think, one of 3 albums I had loaded up on there. Stand-up album. Kalina and I have talked about Fall Out Boy before, and I think for me, because I was so invested in invested in Fall Out Boy when I was young, it's hard for me now to get into them. I've tried to listen to their new music, and it just doesn't hit the way it used to, and Kalina brought this up when we were talking about them, and I think she's brilliant, but like, I'm never gonna be 15 and listening to Fall Out Boy for like a new Fall Out Boy album for the first time, and I don't know, it's weird. They don't hit me in like the nostalgia way that some bands do when they release new music, where I'm like, oh my goodness, I loved them in high school. This is, it feels like I'm back there. It's just now it's like, well, if this had come out when I was 15, I would be all over this, but it just doesn't work anymore, which is kind of a bummer to have to come to terms with, and it's nobody's fault. It's not like their music hasn't evolved. It has. It's just I've evolved in a different direction, which is kind of a bummer, but I, to this day, still listen to older Fall Out Boy. I think those songs stand up, and I think if I were able to kind of get over myself a little bit, their current things would stand up, but just not there yet. The next thing on this list is BuzzFeed, specifically the quizzes, because you were lying to me if you said you didn't have a BuzzFeed quiz phase. I think Kalina and I have episodes, maybe not on this, but definitely on our radio show, where we just took BuzzFeed quizzes and read out our results, and we had a great time. I don't really know what BuzzFeed is doing these days. I have to imagine they were not treating their workers very well, just based on the amount of people who purged from them afterwards. I know kind of the big ones, the Try Guys, the Unsolved folks who are over at Watcher now, I believe, Sophia Nygaard, the Kitchen and Jorn show, I think it's called. A lot of people jumped ship from BuzzFeed. I'm sure they probably didn't treat people well. I mean, shocking. It's not shocking, but yeah, BuzzFeed. I remember in high school I would just sit in class and do BuzzFeed quizzes all the time. I don't do those now. I don't really know what they're up to. I'm sure they're not up to anything particularly groundbreaking anymore. But if I ever want to know what fruit and Disney princess I am, I know where to go. And that is one quiz, not two separate quizzes, just so you know. Next thing on this list, probably not a shock to anybody. I think this band gets a mention in every single episode Kalina and I do. It is 303. I have a very specific memory of being in the lunch line in like probably 5th grade, talking about how brilliant the "tell your boyfriend if he says he's got beef" line was. I was too young to probably be listening to that, but banger. I listened to that song today. 303 is just consistent bangers. And somebody today told me that 303 sounded like One Direction if they took a lot of coke, which is correct. Yeah, they're One Direction in their club phase, which is beautiful and wonderful, and I cannot think of anything more genius than Ballerado. And I just want to thank 303 for being consistent and putting out Want, which is probably the best album in the universe. I'm shocked it doesn't have 7 Grammys. I don't think it can still win a Grammy. I think the consideration period, the eligibility period, whatever, has probably lapsed, but I'll never quit trying. Next on this list, another band, it's the Jonas Brothers. They were my first love, my first boy band. I remember I would be, 10 or so in the grocery store begging my mother to buy me Tiger Beat so I could get a Joe Jonas poster. I was a Joe girl, and then some things happened, and now I'm not sure I can say I'm a Joe girl. I'm definitely a Sophie Turner girl now. Kalina has always pretty consistently been a Nick girl, which can't fault her for at all. We all knew where we were when we realized that Nick Jonas had diabetes, and we were all terrified it was going to kill him. That was extra stressful for me because my grandpa also has diabetes, and I didn't really take kindly to people being so freaked out about Joe Jonas, or Nick Jonas dying over the same thing my grandpa has, but Nick Jonas and my grandpa are both still kicking, both still doing pretty good. They both have wives. That's kind of where the similarities end between Joe Jonas and Nick Jonas and my grandpa, but, well, I guess not Joe Jonas and my grandpa, because Joe Jonas does not currently have a wife. Womp womp. But anyway, yes, Jonas Brothers, my first foray into fandom, really. Well, no, just my first foray into obsession. I didn't really have a concept of fandom. I wasn't on the internet like that. I'm sure obviously there were groups that existed. There was a Jonas Brothers fandom. I was in the Jonas Brothers fandom in the sense that I consumed everything that they put on, not in the sense that I interacted with other fans, mostly because I was 10 and didn't have access to the internet like that, which I think is probably smart. Anyway, another blast from the past, rounding in about half of the list now. This piece of media contains the main character of this piece of media is the first person I can ever really, truly, genuinely having a crush on. Whenever this show would come on, I would have like a visceral reaction because the main guy is just so cute and so cool. And I watched this as a kid, and then I remember when I got a little older, it would play. It was like Disney would like to play this in the middle of the night, you know? It is American Dragon Jake Long. I think the most embarrassing part of not only thinking American Dragon Jake Long is hot is, for a really long time, because of him, I wanted black and green hair. And I don't think I could have pulled it off. Billie Eilish can pull it off. I don't think I quite could, especially because I wanted it to look exactly like his, which would have been difficult because I don't think my mom would have let me cut my hair quite that short when I really wanted to look like American Dragon Jake Long. And as I am talking, I realized that I don't think I had a crush on him. I think I wanted to look like him, which is another can of worms that I am going to be putting back in the way back of the pantry, never to open. And we're just going to move on real quick to the next thing on this list of pieces of media that have a big impact on me. This one is just SNL music, just kind of generally. Again, this ties back into Andy Samberg, but even after he left, we've got 3 Sad Virgins with Taylor Swift. We've got, I don't know the name of it, but the one with Saoirse Ronan, where they talk about how hard it is to be a woman. Fair enough. I just think SNL music consistently puts out bops. And I also think that they do something I think some musicians are afraid to do, which is have so much fun. Honestly, sometimes have a little bit too much fun, but I like SNL music because I think music is improved in kind of generally, not always, but I think a lot of the time music is improved when the people who make it don't take themselves seriously. In the sense that, like, they take the craft seriously. They, it's like the production level is good, but you gotta have fun with things or else they're not as good. The next one is my favorite piece of comedy propaganda, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Again, I'm not here to talk about how it is problematic. I acknowledge that it is. I acknowledge that America is seeped in propaganda to the point where most Americans, and I'm sure even me, I am not able to recognize propaganda unless it is staring me in the face. And even then, I'm like, well, that's normal, when it's not. But that is besides the point. I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine, again, shaped my humor. So funny. Such a funny show. And I think when it does cover serious topics, it has a couple episodes a season where it is very serious. It covers real world topics. I think it does the best job it can within the framework that it exists. You're never going to, well, not never, but in this day and age, you are likely not going to have a show on mainstream TV that comes out, with entirely leftist values. That's just not where we are as a society. But I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine, yes, it does water things down. No, it's not perfect, but I think it does an okay job at presenting some serious issues in a way that is, it's not perfect. It's not close to perfect. But within the boundaries that they have to work, I think they are doing, well, they did their best to tell stories. And it's not like some other shows where they are, entirely just devoid of critique, or even worse, where they're like, well, actually, your critique is wrong. All cops are beautiful and amazing, which is probably not correct, but, you know, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I think, is funny. I think it hits. I just love sitcoms. I really do. Also, it had a crossover with New Girl, so can't go wrong there. It's a good show. It is a funny show. It's a pretty consistent show as well. I will say, and I'll talk about this more later in the list, but I've never seen the finale of New Girl or Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I don't like watching finales because, I don't know. I'll talk about that later, actually. But Brooklyn Nine-Nine, good. One of my favorite shows. I will say that with my full chest. I am, again, able to recognize that it's not a perfect show, and cop shows at its heart are propaganda, but it's enjoyable, so, you know, you can let that slide. Legally, that is a joke. But anyway, we're gonna move on, because I am talking myself into a rut. And next on this list is Carly Rae Jepsen. You cannot go wrong with Carly Rae Jepsen. I think the worst thing she's ever done is in 2022, she released The Loneliest Time the same day that Taylor Swift released Midnights, which is a bummer because it got overshadowed a little bit, because that, I think, The Loneliest Time was a lot more consistent than Midnights. Like, both had some great songs, but I think Midnights had some duds, whereas The Loneliest Time was pretty consistent throughout. It had a few sounds go viral on TikTok. I just think Carly Rae Jepsen is putting out a very consistent product. I think she's fun. I think she's cute. I wish her all the best. I worked retail in high school, and Boy Problems was on that playlist, and it came on very, very rarely, but when it did, I was happy. Love Carly Rae Jepsen. I started listening to her probably, in high school. Pretty consistent. I bonded with a few friends in college over her. Very excited to see what she does next. I haven't gotten to see her live, but I would like to. I wouldn't like to in the sense that I've ever actively sought out tickets because I've always had something else going on. But I do like her, and I'm excited for whatever she does next. Next on this list, we're getting there. Lizzie McGuire, the show, also the character. I love Hilary Duff. That is the theme here. Liz McGuire made me realize that girls were cute too. Also, I think I have a little animated version in my head of myself in my head, telling my true thoughts all the time, but my brain is broken and I just say them out loud. Also, shopping for a bra was not as devastating as this show and many other teen shows made it seem like it was going to be the very first time, but it was very embarrassing to get the nerve to tell my mother that I wanted a bra and then for her to say, for what? Have not recovered from that. Also, she was right. I can admit that now. And honestly, she continues to be right, but I continue to go to Victoria's Secret, so there's really no winners here. The next thing on this list is a movie. I know, crazy. Not a lot of movies on this list, even though this did start out as a movie show. Movie is Raise Your Voice, also with Hilary Duff. Again, love her. This is on the list because it is the first movie I ever cried real tears for. Raise Your Voice is a movie about a girl who gets into a music college, and I think right before she goes to college or on her first weekend home from this college, she gets into a car accident. She and her brother do, and her brother passes away, and then she has to deal with that and also deal with college. And she's a singer, and though that's all the plot I remember about that movie, but I do remember it was the first movie that made me realize that people weren't lying when they said that movies made them cry. um, Also, I don't remember who played the brother, but I do think he was cute, if I remember correctly, which I often don't. Next on this list, a classic. This piece of media is more just kind of a general category and not one specific thing, but it is Mr. Pooh Bear, our favorite. I have a Pooh Bear tattoo. Growing up, I had a lot more like Pooh Bear toys and books than I did I guess Pooh Bear. I didn't watch Pooh Bear, really. I read books, or I had books read to me, and then I had toys. I think in 85% of the photos of me as a kid, and honestly most of the photos of me now, I am wearing something with Pooh Bear on it because we stan him. We stan that silly old bear. I love him. I do remember watching the show where he solved mysteries. Loved that. I do think that it's part of the reason I like crime shows now is because I watched Pooh Bear be a detective. Which leads me into my next one. Law and Order SVU. I've never seen the regular Law and Order. I have seen almost all Law and Order SVU. I think Law and Order SVU is very problematic at its base. I think Olivia Benson as a character could use some work. Again, not getting into this, I got into it a little bit with Brooklyn Nine-Nine. SVU is worse. But I enjoy it. I'm sorry. I do. I love Law and Order SVU. I wrote my master's thesis about Law and Order SVU. It's hard to keep a drama on for that long and still be able to stay kind of up to date and still be able to be entertaining. And for the most part they are. I haven't seen much past 2020, so maybe they have fallen off recently, but I don't know. They brought Stabler back, which I hope is going well. I know they gave him his own spin-off, but I also think they killed off his wife, and I really hope they didn't kill off his wife to make him get together with Benson, because, I mean, no offense, are we supposed to buy that Benson likes men? Maybe I'm projecting there, but, and I know that's also harmful because just because a woman has some traits that could be read as masculine and is good at her job doesn't mean she's a lesbian. But I would like it if she was for us. That's the lens I'm looking at that through. The next thing on this list is another entire concept, as I had with Tumblr, just YouTube. I was trying to sit here and think about YouTubers that I watched as a kid that I still watch today. There is nobody on that list. When I was younger, I had some pretty shameful eras. Thankfully, I never had an Onision era. Was kind of into Shane Dawson for a while. Regret that now. I was into Smosh. But I was into, like, whatever show Smosh had where they just ate lunch. I think because I had no friends. Dan and Phil, well, not really and Phil, just Dan Howell, iconic, loved him. Never really into a whole, like, entire, like, Brit Crew thing. I was a little bit into Tyler Oakley, a little bit into Troye Sivan, a little bit into a little of everything. Now I've kind of transitioned to mostly, like, social commentary, video essays. I will say YouTube's looking a little bleak right now. Everything's looking a little bleak. But when you do find good content, stick with it. I don't know what it is, but I very much prefer a lot of long form content now. Like, I will watch a 3-hour YouTube video, but I won't sit down and watch a movie. And I don't know why that is, and I don't have the time to sit down and try to figure that out, because I've got all these 3-hour long YouTube videos to watch. Also, oh, we've got the final movie. Well, I guess not the final movie. Another movie on this list. I think this is, the second movie on this list, and it's already almost the last one. 21 Jump Street. I have seen this movie an insane amount of times, like a truly mental amount. There was about a 2-year period in my life where I watched 21 Jump Street every single day. And, people can theorize what was wrong with me. People can make their assumptions. But really, it was the only movie I had downloaded on my laptop, so it was very easy to find. And I didn't want to have to go searching for new things. And so I just watched 21 Jump Street every single day. And to this day, I will watch it. If somebody comes in and says, I would like to watch 21 Jump Street, I say, perfect, let's pull it up. I don't think I've seen 22 Jump Street. I also don't know if I like 21 Jump Street. I've just seen it a lot, which is embarrassing to admit, but hey, it has shaped me. The next thing on this list is How I Met Your Mother. Is How I Met Your Mother a good show? No. Does How I Met Your Mother hold up today? No. Does How I Met Your Mother have any characters of color who have, both a name and more than 2 lines of dialogue? No, I don't think so. I think there are probably, 3 black people in the entire show. Not great. Really not great. Not really a good show. However, I was obsessed with it for such a long time. And the finale of How I Met Your Mother was so piss poor that I cannot watch finales of anything anymore. I don't know I know what about it was bad, but I think part of it was I was just so invested by the time the finale came out. And the way they set the show up is, first of all, looking back, that show should have probably only been 3 seasons. They had no plan. They lost the plot very, very early on. And then at the final episode, they were like, oh yeah, we have a story. Well, the final season, they were like, oh yeah, we gotta point to this whole thing. I think it needed a lot of work. Yeah, I was so traumatized, I'm sorry, that's such a dumb word, but the finale of it made me so angry and so just, it felt like these characters that I had come to know and love were just ravaged, they just, the writers did my characters wrong. And yeah, that's an insane thing to say, and yeah, it is just a show, but I physically cannot watch finales of things. I've never seen the New Girl finale, never seen the Brooklyn Nine-Nine finale. Something's wrong with me for sure. But I would rather end it on the penultimate episode than see whatever, how it actually ends, which is, I don't know, something about me that is true and silly. Next up, we're rounding this off. Criminal Minds. Again, another crime drama. Not getting into the problematic things of that. Criminal Minds has its own specific problematic things. But Spencer Reid has my heart. I love Criminal Minds. I am due for a rewatch of it. I haven't sat down and rewatched the entire series in quite a long time. Mostly because I don't know what streaming service it's on, and I'm too lazy to look. I also have never watched the finale of that, probably won't. And I probably also won't watch the spinoff. But I will watch anything that Emily Prentiss is in. Don't know her name in real life, but I love her, and I think she's beautiful. And yeah, I'm very easy. I will watch anything with her in it. Okay, 24 out of 25. I think we all knew this was coming, or at least I did, because I wrote the list. Twilight. I first read the Twilight books when I was way too young. First watched the Twilight movies when I was probably too young. Again, Twilight has a very special place in my heart. Twilight was the first topic of the first radio show that Kalina and I did together. Twilight is another thing I love to hate. In college, I did a presentation on Twilight as a film. Is it a masterpiece? Yes. It is. Is it the best film ever made? Yes. Does it have any problems narrative-wise? No. Is it Christian propaganda? No. Nobody would ever say that. Is a khaki pair of pants and a long khaki skirt truly, are those just the sexiest bottoms anybody can wear? You're damn right. Yeah, love Twilight. One Christmas, Kalina and I sat down and watched all of the Twilights, and I would do that again, and I think I will, and I think I know my next target to make them sit down and watch all the Twilights with me. And by make them, I mean I think they'd enjoy it, but like, it being the watching experience, not necessarily the movies. And also, there are no Confederates in Twilight. Actually, that's I mean, there are, but he's hot, so you can overlook it. No, you can't. I probably shouldn't be allowed to say things on the internet, but here I am on the internet saying things. Oops. Anyway, final thing on this list. I have been yapping for way longer than I thought. Again, another no-brainer. Save this one for last because that's the thing I'm most into. One Direction, the world's best band. I wrote my undergraduate dissertation about One Direction. I am kind of a walking One Direction encyclopedia. I've made friends over One Direction. I've lost friends over One Direction. I've gotten into fights over One Direction. I will probably get into fights over One Direction again. Are they better than the Beatles? Yes. Are they better than any other musical artist on the planet? Yeah. Are they perfect, no notes, never been problematic? Also, yes. Can't think of one thing that has ever gone wrong within One Direction or related to One Direction. I mean, there was that thing in Japan, but that was one time and the claims were unfounded. One time, two of them got a little too high on the internet. Who hasn't done that before? Very excited for Maya Henry's book. Not excited in the sense that I'm excited to hear about somebody's trauma, but excited in the sense that I think it'll be enlightening. And I hope it was a healing journey to write if the book is what I think we all think it is. I'm very excited that Zayn is coming back a little bit. Excited for his album. Have not heard his singles yet because I think I'm going to wait till the entire album is out. Niall Horan's on tour. We stan Ireland. I don't think Louis is still on tour. I don't think Harry's still on tour, but I think Louis is gearing up for a festival. We're going to hear some new music from Harry soon, most likely. Maybe he'll keep acting, maybe he won't. We'll see. Good on him for spitting on Chris Pine, except for I don't think he actually did that. But yeah, I think One Direction is probably the most profound thing in my life. Not profound thing in my life, but like the most profound piece of media. It was the first fandom I was really truly active in. bonded over them with quite a few people, subjected quite a few people to One Direction as well. They have some great road trip songs. They have a great movie. One Direction, This Is Us, You Will Always Be Perfect to Me. Also, if there's one group of people I will always love to hate on, it's Larry's. But that's a separate episode. I'm rounding out my time here. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week with our regularly scheduled program, most likely. Thank you and good night. Thanks for listening. Don't quote me on that. One day we'll have an outro, but it's not today.